In black households across the Carolinas and Virginia, chow chow was as essential as salt. Some families made it sweet, others loaded it with cayenne until a spoonful burned your eyes. The recipe was the grandmother's, guarded not on paper, but in proportions only she could measure by sight. When the last jar was sealed, she lined them up and counted. If the count was right, the supply lasted until next summer. Too few, and the family felt it by February. Those jars held the whole garden, and the woman who put them there. Turkey, wings were the working family's answer to a roast nobody could afford on a Tuesday. In the 1970s, turkey parts sold for less than chicken, and a pack of wings fed four for under $2. Seasoned with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and smoked paprika, the wings were seared until the skin blistered, then braised in a deep pan with sliced onions and gravy built from drippings, flour, broth, Worcestershire, bay leaf. 2 hours at 325, and they came out falling apart, the meat pulling from bone in long shreds, the gravy dark as coffee. Served over rice with greens, the plate looked like it cost 10 times what it did. That transformation, cheap to grand, ordinary to Sunday worthy, was the genius of black home cooking. Your aunt made them every holiday. She said the secret was the sear, burning the skin at the edge on purpose. After she passed, 3 cousins tried. None got the gravy dark enough. Every kitchen had one, a glass, bottle, usually an old hot sauce jar or a repurposed vinegar bottle filled with tiny bird peppers, steeping in white vinegar until the liquid turned pale orange and the heat settled in deep. Pepper sauce was never bought. It was made. Your grandmother dropped fresh peppers from her garden into that bottle every summer, topped it off with vinegar, and let it sit on the table year-round beside the salt, pepper, and hot sauce. You shook it over greens, over beans, over rice, a few drops at a time because the vinegar carried more fire than it looked. Through the 70s, that bottle was a household signature. Each household sauce tasted different depending on the peppers grown, how long they steeped, and whether the cook added garlic or a pinch of sugar to round the edges. When your grandmother passed, somebody kept her cast iron, somebody kept her mixing bowls, nobody thought to save that pepper bottle. Nothing from the store has ever come close to what was inside it. Time equals 1 second / greater than the smell of pork chops. Frying on a Saturday could pull you in from 3 houses down. Thin bone-in chops seasoned with salt, pepper, and garlic powder, dredged in flour, fried in Crisco until the crust turned dark gold and the edges curled crisp. The sandwich was simple. 1 chop laid flat on soft white bread, hit with hot sauce or mustard, topped with another slice, wrapped tight in wax paper. You ate it with your hands, the bread soaking up grease until it went translucent, but never fell apart. Back then, fried pork chop sandwiches traveled to work in lunch pails, on road trips in paper bags, to the park where the grill was for show, but the real food came from the kitchen. Your father ate them cold at midnight, standing at the counter. Your mother made a dozen at a time. The chops cost less than $1 for a whole pack. The bread cost $0.25. The meal held a family together on nothing, and it tasted like everything. Now, if the pork chop sandwich was Saturday, sardines on saltines was the meal nobody planned and everybody remembered. A flat tin packed in mustard or oil, pulled open with the key attached to the can, laid out on crackers with sliced raw onion and a shake of Louisiana hot sauce. That was supper between paydays, the nights when the refrigerator held condiments and hope. Your grandfather ate them standing at the counter without a plate, cracker in one hand, sardine balanced on top. He did not call it poor, he called it quick. In black households through the 1970s, canned sardines were a pantry constant, cheap, protein-rich, and shelf-stable for months. On Fridays, In homes that observed the no-meat tradition, sardines replaced pork without complaint. Kids wrinkled their noses at the smell. Adults knew better. The taste was salty, briny, sharp with mustard, and gone in 5 minutes. There was no recipe, just a tin, some crackers, and a man who fed himself without fuss. The greens got all the glory, but the real treasure was the liquid left behind. Pot liquor, the dark smoky broth at the bottom of every pot of collards, mustard greens, or turnip greens that had simmered for hours with a ham hock or a piece of fatback. It was not a byproduct, it was the point. Rich with vitamins, minerals, and rendered pork fat, pot liquor was sipped from a coffee cup, poured over rice, or soaked up with crackling bread until the bread went soft and heavy with flavor. In the 1940s and 50s, doctors in black communities quietly recommended it for anemia and exhaustion, iron from the greens, fat for energy, salt for the body after a long day of labor. It was medicine dressed as leftovers. The women who made it never poured pot liquor down the drain. That would have been like throwing away money. They saved it in jars, reheated it the next morning, and gave it to children before school with a piece of cornbread. You would not find it on any menu, but it kept people standing. Stewed chicken appeared when companies showed up gold. In black households across the Carolinas and Virginia, chow chow